On the 23rd of August, 2016, a 10-year-old girl was drugged, raped, and murdered in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And this happened in the safety of her own home by her mother's boyfriend. When I heard that news, something in me just didn't feel right. I had to do something. I had to act. I had to react. And as an Indian classical dancer, my vocabulary was that of dance. So what I did was I choreographed a dance piece that was based on the issue, and I presented at one of the OpenFlow nights in one of the studios in town. Now, the reactions I saw, the conversations I had, and the body languages I was observing that night was something I cannot explain. An older lady in the audience came up to me and said, I could feel her pain. A gentleman came up to me and said, but why are people being so cruel? A young lady came up to me and said, you need to perform this piece to a wider audience. We need to educate our children about their safety in their own homes. What I had realized was that my dance had transcended languages and reached into their hearts, that they were wanting to react. So I took their advice and I performed it at a few of the schools here in town. And months withered away, and yet came another August morning in 2018. My phone was flooding with text messages from friends, family, relatives, from back home in Kerala, India. The British Broadcasting Corporation, a British news channel, called it the flood of a century. And these friends were texting me for food, clothing, medication, and even sanitary napkins. Sitting miles away, I could not ship this overnight with the airport being closed due to the floods. So what my family did was, we sent some money to India to a few friends who could help these friends get them some supplies. But what we didn't realize was that this was just the beginning. The situation was getting so worse that the military had to come in. People had lost everything that they had made, their loved ones, their homes. There were no supplies left. And sitting here, all I was able to do was sit in front of the television and pray. But yet again, being the dancer inside me, I had to react again. I had to do something. But this time, I got a few friends, some musicians, some percussionists, and then I also sat down my dance students, and I told them what had happened and what we were trying to do. And it's amazing sometimes how little kids are ever ready and trying to help you in such situations. And these kids were going to their schools, talking to their friends, standing up in front of their class, and convincing their friends to buy tickets to the show. We had a wonderful audience. And from the money that we had made from that show, and with the help of a few friends, we were able to build 2 homes for 2 families who had lost their homes in the floods. Yes, it was an amazing feeling to feel that my dance, their music, actually changed somebody's lives. Now, a realization that we had when these floods happened was the amount of plastic that was being thrown back at us. Clearly, we put it in there. And it was around the same time my childhood best friend, Amrita Prakash, an Indian celebrity now, was running a campaign where she required each of us to give up one plastic item for the rest of our lives. And for the love that I had for her, I had to do something. So I decided I was going to give up plastic straws for the rest of my lives. The dancer in me again had to do something. So I choreographed another dance piece based on the topic, how plastic is choking the world around us. And I had the good fortune of presenting this to a few fellow dancers. And a handful of them have now given up plastic bottles for the rest of their lives. See, art has a profound power to change you. Our social media knows it, our politicians know it, and they use it in their campaigns. Our dear friends in marketing also know it when they try to sell us things that we don't even need. I mean, our local auto parts store has a jingle that we're all humming. So then why is it that we aren't using this universal language of the art to reach past political ideologies, masks, and stubborn attitudes to make a change in the world and solve problems that really matter? In the US, of the 1,000 rapes that happen, only 6 reach incarceration. Let me put that into perspective for you. Of the 300 of us present here, if all of us were to go through this terrible experience, only 1.8 of us, not 2, but 1.8 of us would actually receive some justice. That is a lot of us not receiving justice. Every day, 500 million straws are being used. That sums up to 184.2 billion straws a year that goes into landfill. Let me put that into perspective for some of us who have trouble with numbers. If you were to take all of these straws that we used at the end of the year and try to fill it in a New York Yankees baseball stadium that seats about 55,000 people, you would need 9 such stadiums to be done with all of those straws. What are we doing to change the situation? Every year, 27 million people lose their homes in a natural disaster. How many of us present here are educated in the basic survival techniques in such a situation? Why aren't we using the power of the arts for this? Why isn't our government at least doing that? Is it because nobody's getting a profit or a kickback from it? Or is it because we have stopped seeing injustice and become so centered and selfish that the other human beings have just ceased to exist? Are we just going to trash this planet and move to the next planet? I think it's safe for me to say that all of us here feel the need to react. But most often, this frustration comes out in the form of violence. And don't we have the responsibility to educate our future generation to be inspired and solve problems with something that is more effective than violence? As I dance to change this world, I urge you to look past, beyond my elaborate makeup and costume and jewelry. Maybe it will change your perception, or maybe some other lives. And if dance isn't quite your thing, find something else that can change maybe 2 lives. That would be 600 changed lives from just this room. We have treated arts as a sprinkle on the icing of our cake. It has to be the baking powder of our cake.